Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. My name is Colin Coyle. I am the Senior Vice President of Broadcast with Haivision, and we're here today to talk about production over 5G networks, both public and private. I have brought with me today two people who are significantly smarter, although slightly less handsome than I am. My good friend Larry Barbatsoulis from Half Moon Entertainment. Big Fish, Half Moon, part of the MGM Amazon family of companies. And Frank Rafka. Frank is a senior technical manager with CP Communications. These guys are doing some very cool stuff using cellular networks. And we brought both of these guys here today because we're covering both public networks and private. So I'll start with the low-hanging fruit, which is the public networks, because the public networks exist everywhere, right? Cellular is already here, but Larry's doing some amazing stuff, producing a live television show, live to air, over public cellular. So why don't you talk a little bit about On Patrol Live?
Yeah, we do a show called Now It's On Patrol Live. It was Live PD in its past iteration. We basically bring in 48 to 50 cameras live concurrently and produce a 3-hour program every Friday and Saturday night. It's probably, I'd say right now we're right up around 2,500 hours of live programming, all done with bonded cellular. It was an interesting concept. We kind of put it together and, it actually works. I was telling, Colin, trying to explain how we figured out the workflow and how to make this work. And if you look at, golf coverage, it's, basically the same thing. You're instead of riding with multiple police departments, you're on a golf course with multiple holes, and you're basically packaging a show. Bonded cellular gave us the ability to do that with a third the cost, even less, of what it would have taken with satellite, microwave. Years back, I was telling them we did a show for MTV. They wanted to do a live police show. They called it Busted, and we did 3 locations. And in order to get the signals back from those locations, we had to outfit the cars with RF, which would shoot up to a helicopter, which was constantly flying over the police car. The helicopter would repeat back down to a ground station, which was then fed over to an uplink truck that broadcast back to MTV Master Control in New York. You can imagine what the cost on that was. It was just ridiculous.
So you were doing helicopters hovering over buildings, right? You were doing this the most expensive way possible, and you were doing 3 cities, right? And now you have 48 cameras all going over public bonded cellular, right? 48 cameras live all the time. And how many cities are you in during this production?
Currently, we're in 9 cities, and we start broadcasting probably around 6 p.m. Eastern, and those cameras all stay up live until midnight. So we're pushing a lot of hours on.
And these transmitters are inside police cars.
They're inside police cars. They're on cameramen on their bellies. It's an amazing workflow, and it works.
So I was having a conversation when I was in Amsterdam for IBC with someone about bonded cellular for production. They were saying, well, it's fine for electronic news gathering. It's fine to just go out and, like, in the middle of a city where there's great, strong internet, you couldn't produce live television. But you're doing it 9 cities simultaneously, 48 cameras, high-speed police chases, jumping over fences, all of it in real time.
Every Friday and Saturday night. The toughest thing is, again, there are certain variables that you have to plan for. For instance, delay and latency between cameras and bonded packs. And where our biggest issue has always been audio, because a little bit of latency or delay on the video side, 9 times out of 10, you won't notice it. But audio, you hear it immediately. So we've had to go through great machinations to figure out how to reduce audio delay and how to make it consistent. So whoever shows up on scene, there's always a way to get that signal back and in sync, which is key.
So if you have a Roku at home this Friday night, right, because it's on Roku, hop on to On Patrol Live, check it out, and see the beautiful work that Larry and his team do producing this amazing show. So the other bias that I hear is, okay, fine, but you can't use this for sports coverage, right? You gotta use traditional RF. So Frank, there's a pretty big event that's happening soon that you're using bonded cellular. So let's talk about that.
New York City Marathon. We've been doing it.
Small event,
little event. We've been doing it for over 30 years, providing the technical aspects of the show. We started with conventional microwave and we started rolling it over to an IP cellular based show in 2018. And this year we will have 7 on-course motos, 2 helicopters, 5 REMI sites with a total of 7 cameras and the start line.
Are all of you guys obsessed with helicopters?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. So you've got helicopters. And are you using public networks for this, private networks, a mix of both?
We do a mix of both. At the start line and finish line, because of cellular contention, when you get 50,000 of your closest friends all trying to do TikTok, we'll embellish that with a private network based on CBRS technology. So the beauty of the Haivision infrastructure and ecosystem is we can use multiple SIMs. So I can do public SIMs, which are webbing SIMs, which will address any carrier. We'll do CBRS SIMs. And we can do other bands like band 77 and other aspects. We use the Haivision ecosystem allows us to get up to 10 modems per motos. And we also factor in Starlink.
So what kind of bandwidth are you putting on the cellular networks when you're doing a production like this?
Typically a moto is anywhere from 4 to 8 megabits. Helicopters are about 10. REMI sites are 10. So it depends. It really depends on where you are in the city and what network we're riding on the public side.
And this feed that you're pulling together, right, all these bonded cellulars contributing back, who are you doing that production contribution to?
So we provide all the infrastructure for Film 45 and the New York City Roadrunners. The show airs on ESPN. This year it really has turned into, as opposed to a domestic broadcast, into a world broadcast. So we're feeding the world. All of those feeds, I think we ingest 48 and we output 52. And it's all IP based.
So a small production.
Yeah, the majority of it on Haivision infrastructure, Stream Hubs, Cloud Hubs, X-Force.
Yeah. Now, so you guys are able to deploy private cellular pretty quickly. How long does it take you to set that network up and get it up and going? Is it extra days on the front of your loadout, or is it a part of your organic work today?
It's part of the organic setup of the show. We have been working on this for years. We'll start on Wednesday, putting radios on the Verrazano Bridge. And we have dark fiber back from the start line to Central Park West, where the TV compound is. Typically, the actual install of the radios and getting them online is a short-term project. We can do it in a day. The networking aspect, which is part of the complexity of dealing with the CBRS in the private networking world, that could take a couple days, but we've been working on that for a month already beforehand.
Now, I think earlier this week, without mentioning any particular names, there was a pretty big disruption, right? For folks that were reliant on cloud workflows. So how much does that impact the planning that you guys have for what you're doing? Larry?
Zero.
Yeah, same thing. You can't you factor that in. We do take steps to have more secure pipelines from REMI sites and from the start line. We are utilizing dark fiber to move IP traffic. It's just a more efficient way of doing it, and it's less complicated. We also do traditional consumer grade FiOS circuits, 1 gig FiOS circuits everywhere, and that gives us connectivity.
And Larry, any cloud in what you're doing?
No, they have a better ability to preset stuff in these larger shows, Super Bowls, marathons. You know it's happening. You have time to set up. We are 100% reliant on public internet. So if it works, it works. And where it works one day might not the next, depending on how many people are in the area. So again, we learn to deal with the pitfalls of what you normally have with your cell phone, right? To get in an elevator, you might lose it. We try, the extra SIMs in the packs helps out. Multiple carriers helps out. So
now, one of the areas at Haivision where we've been focusing our technology is a big investment in 5G, right? And I think if you talk to folks around town, you'll get different ideas of where 5G is. Some people will tell you, oh, it's strong in Europe, it's not ready in America, blah, blah, blah. So I thought I would just put that to the question of two guys who are producing things live today using these networks. Larry, how have you found 5G in the United States?
Because we're generally in a lot of fringe areas in the South, in the desert, we would always hit a lot of dead spots with LTE. 5G, since we've gone to the new 5G equipment, seems to be way more robust. We're getting coverage in areas that are shocking. I would expect nothing there, and it works way better than regular LTE.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can take advantage of the fact that those consumer devices aren't really leveraging the 5G networks today. So where there is 5G infrastructure, there is some free space and there's clear air to use equipment like ours on those towers.
And I think what's helped us out too is when we first started this back in 2016, we were all on H.264 codecs. And we were at that time pushing 5 megabit streams on 264. Now with 265 and the 5G, I'm sending streams at 2.5 megabits that look fantastic, actually.
And Frank, I know you've been doing a lot of work with our latest generation radios and modems, our 5G transmitters. So how have you found 5G in some of these productions? Because you're working in very crowded environments all the time.
Yeah, not only on the marathon, but we do other shows. We do golf, college golf that airs on ESPN and various places like that. And we're finding that the 5G is a lot more prevalent than we ever thought it would be at this point. However, we're still dealing with contention in those areas. Once again, same thing with H.265 and 5G. We can push lower bandwidth and still maintain video quality, which is key. I mean, we've gone on some golf shows, we've gone as low as 1 megabit and still maintained arable video, which is, light years ahead of where we were like 4 or 5 years.
That's why I wake up every morning, arable video. That is my goal. I want arable video today.
So the 5G aspect of things is still in development. I mean, there's millimeter wave radios, there's band 77 radios, there's a lot of things that I can get into the dirt on, but as we're progressing and advancing our technology and your technology, we're still, 70% in a 4G LTE world. The 5G is coming around. We do use it on every show. We use webbing sims, which will access any carrier, let it be 4G or 5G. So we leverage it all.
So at Haivision, one of the things that we think differentiates us in the space, is we don't really care where you get your data from. We're happy to provide your data, but if you have a carrier relationship, you want to use private SIMs, you want to use private networks, you bring all of it. We don't care. We're not in the business of metered usage. So Larry, does that flexibility play into your productions, being able to just whatever SIM you want, whenever you want?
Yes. I mean, for us, the thing that benefited us the most was going from the 264 to 265. My cell phone carrier bills have dropped enormously over the years. I mean, we would be at a point of up in the plus 100K range monthly for carrier bills, and now that's at least halved, if not less than that, on 265. So
lower OpEx is always good for a production. Yep. Now, Frank, as you started to move into using bonded cellular, and I know it's not new for you, but as you started moving into bonded cellular, what was the biggest thing that surprised you or the biggest bias that you had to get over?
Production accepting the latency involved with utilizing bonded cellular on a public network. On the private side, we can get latencies down to sub 100 milliseconds. On the public side, it's 1.8 seconds. And we have been doing this, like I said, since 2018. And that's the number that works. It gives you the most consistent video that you can possibly want at that level. So and Larry, I think you can jump on this too. That is the biggest
at
thing.
1.8, you can get a very comfortable two-way conversation happening. I mean, anything more than that, and it gets a little disjointed, but 1.8 works fine for two-way.
And we do a lot of work with balancing audio with latencies. We do delays. We have many tools in the toolbox to be able to match, to do lip sync and handle the lip sync. But the biggest thing was dealing with production, understanding that when you say ready, one, take one, 1001, 1002, you see a take. And that perception was that it was a lot longer than that 1.8 seconds. And unfortunately, in this industry, perception's reality. So we went through a very arduous learning curve with production, with directors sitting in the truck. All right, here's how we're going to do this. So you're going to look at camera 7. I'm going to start counting backwards from 5. At 0, camera 7 pan. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pan, 1001, 1002, you see the picture move. That's your latency. That's what you're dealing with. So that is the biggest complaint from production when it comes to utilizing the bonded cellular networks.
Now, in your world, Larry, when you're doing a remote production where everything is on that same level of latency scattered around the country, you're in a pretty decent place, right? Because everything's coming in at the same delay.
Yeah, and we work on a little bit bigger delay than normal because of the application. I mean, you don't want to put anything on that somebody getting shot in the head or something. So, the latency actually helps us, but we are also constantly adjusting. So, for instance, if we're going to do a two-way with a city or an area, we'll bring that down to the 1.8, 1.3, give them that two-way, ability, and then we'll crank it back up again. I think right now we're living globally at about 4 seconds of latency.
Yeah, we put everything in the same time frame. We'd say once the door of the truck closes, the only thing that is outside of that 1.8 seconds is any live camera. And that actually is only 9 sources of the 48 that are actually quote unquote wired cameras to the production truck. Even the start line cameras, which is a Remitas, all those cameras, I think there's 14 cameras at the start line. Those are in the same time frame.
Now, in some of the other productions that we've been working on together, and I don't think we can mention the names of the particular brands involved, but we're talking deployments on private networks there. And in the private network space, we're down around 100 milliseconds of latency, give or take 10 milliseconds. And how are you finding the quality at that latency to be?
So with the ultra low latency aspect, with the stream hubs and the Pro 460s and H.265. We are able to run 24 megabits. So you cannot tell the difference between a wired camera and the bonded cellular camera. The video quality is that good. I mean, we've done a lot of things, kind of can mention, kind of can't, where we move network traffic back to a facility and they decode at the facility. So you're not having the same latency issues by decoding, re-encoding, transporting it. We move network traffic back and decode at the production facility, and that drops our latencies down to sub 100 milliseconds.
So we have a couple of minutes left, and then we'll see if there's any questions from our lovely audience. By the way, some of the most attractive people I have seen since entering New York City. I'm telling you. All right? Yeah. And I was talking to you, and I'm glad you recognize that. Yeah. Anyways, so Larry, what, like a closing thought, right? I mean, what has using bonded cellular in this live production enabled for you? What's it unlocked for you? What's next? Give me a final thought here.
Obviously, it's given us the ability to do shows, where the budget would have been too great to be able to do without bonded cellular. And it's actually shocked us in production, the resiliency of it and the capabilities that we've been able to do. I mean, it's definitely, opened up a light in a lot of the production that we do now, where they're constantly now thinking, hey, how could we utilize more bonded cellular?
And Frank, you use every technology. You use whatever happens to be right for the particular shot, for the particular engagement or event, right? So, what is it that using bonded cell, mixing public and private, right? When are you choosing to make that choice, and what's it letting you do that you couldn't do before?
Well, what it's done is it's less of the cost of doing a show, like Larry said, because we're conscious of that. It has changed the scope of the productions to where we went from 105 people to 35 on the New York City Marathon. And we're doing more now than we ever have in the past. We apply the technology as needed. When the clients come to us, they ask us, hey, we want to do a camera on 34th Street. Okay. No problem.
So 70 less people. Now, a New York City hotel per night is roughly like a leg, right? And how many nights would you normally have staff in for a production?
Back in pre-2016, we were on site for 9 days. Now we're on site for 5.
Okay. So 4-night reduction, 70 staff, New York City hotel rates. Your investment in Haivision has paid for itself.
Correct. And we're doing more now than we ever have in the past.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the single most attractive audience in New York? And I mean that it's your intellect that's really appealing, and I can get that from up here. And this is we're recording this. This is going on the record. Perfect. Well, listen, folks, thank you all so much for gathering here today. The thing that I want to leave you with is I am constantly amazed and excited. I've only been in this broadcast industry for 3 years. I come out of Haivision's government public safety side of things. And this is going to sound dumb, but the amount of creativity that is happening in the broadcast market today, the flexibility of how people are approaching things, it just constantly amazes me. So, Larry, when I've come and I've seen your shop there in Jersey and the show that you're putting together and what you're doing, it seems impossible that you can pull 48 cameras from 9 cities. Like, you're making the TV show Cops, but in real time, without any room for error. And the fact that you're trusting our technology to stand behind that effort is amazing. So thank you so much. And
it works like it's supposed to.
Yeah. That's the other thing I wake up for, right? Arable video that works like it's supposed to. And Frank, I mean, I watch the stuff that you guys produce, right? Every night and every weekend, right? And it's amazing knowing that Haivision is a part of that story. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you all. We're going to be hanging out for a few minutes if you have any questions. Thank you.